put your finger on it. We not only have to solve this problem for ourselves, we have to solve it for Egypt, for China. China's got bigger problems than we do, because they may have 400 million people that are doing well, but they got 1 billion people that are still in food. And so they've got to grow their economy. They can't grow their economy without us. See? We can't keep our economy going without them. So the answers are not for you and Mercosur alone. And I would say that you and the mayor are on the same side in this big picture. No, in every case. Yeah.
What should they do going forward to get this done?
Well, you're obviously not getting their point out there. Because what I've been seeing on the on the television is very confusing. These are a bunch of crazy people who are making trouble, and the sooner you get rid of them, the better.
What do you think they should be doing?
Now, what do I think you should be doing is listening to them and telling their story on 6 o'clock news.
Amen. There you go.
There you go. If you heard some of the news, if you heard accurately what they were saying, you'd agree with them. And so would most of the people in the city.
There you go.
And yet, when you report that, somebody will probably flip that out.
Well, they're funded by the folks. You know,
okay. But now,
they're funded by the folks that we're out with.
Exactly. But that's not new. I mean, we could not get our message on the black radio stations in Birmingham.
Well, we got to do problems, though. We got to do technology. We have Facebook. We have MySpace. We have Twitter. That, you know, if we didn't have those around the world, many of those movements may not have happened, because if we're counting on the corporate media to get the message out, wow, we'll be left in despair.
Okay, but you have to reach the people in the corporate message house. I mean, they need to understand too. Because, first place, I'm convinced we're all on the same side, that it can't get better for them until it gets better for us. And when I say us, I mean basically people who are the 99%. And that's another figure you all ought to use all the time. That in the years when America was going well, the 99% had almost 90% of the wealth, and the top 1% had maybe 10%, and between 10 and 16%, the top 1% does all right, and we do all right. In 2007, the top 1% ended up with 27% of the wealth, and that's when our problem became. That's when they began to suck money from the middle class. And that's when the equilibrium, say, of the American economy got destabilized. Because the 1% was not taking that 27% and putting it back in America. They were spreading it all over the world. Now, some of that is good.
Right. Some.
And even during the 10%, we invested in the Marshall Plan and redeveloped the world. But it wasn't at the expense of what was happening here.
And many of us believe in free and fair trade, but not necessarily free trade.
Well, it needs to be free and fair.
So, Ambassador Young, we missed the very beginning of this. Can you tell us why you came out here and what the message is?
Because I wanted to listen to people like this.
And what do you think after speaking?
No, I think there's some very smart kids out here and elderly people. And I think they have legitimate issues that I hope the American people all come to understand whether they agree with them or not.
So you believe they should leave the park, is that right?
Well, I think that it's in their interest for them to decide on their own that they've made their message here and move on, but not stop. And I'm afraid that if they're closed down, some people will get discouraged and they'll stop. And I don't want it to stop. I want it to find a continuing form. And what the young man has talked about is that, and I don't understand it, but the Twitter and Facebooks and the means of communication. See, what I really would hope is that we are close enough in Atlanta so that what happens in Atlanta would begin to set the patterns for what happens in New York and Chicago. See, in New York and Chicago, young folk are getting beat up and getting pushed around. They're getting locked up, you know, having to get lawyers and bonds, and some of them are going to lose their spirit. I don't want that to happen here. I want this to be the center of people talking together, working together, thinking together, and helping to guide the nation in solving these problems.
So you want to avoid confrontation in spite of the message not being delivered?
Oh no, the message is never going to be delivered in 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 months. What we're having here is going to be at least a year-long struggle, and maybe even longer. In fact, it has to be longer, because what one of the young men said, they don't like corporations being able to contribute to elections.
Let me ask you, what do you expect to Hispanics that feel also left out? And
let me finish this one.
Sure.
Because the Supreme Court has decided that money, all amounts of money, no limits on the money that corporations could give. So that kind of tilts the election away from people like us.
That's anti-democracy.
Yeah, but the Supreme Court decided it. So you have to figure out how to overturn.
Right, they only one branch.
No, but that's exactly true. But I never had as much money as my opponents, and I always, if the elections were decided on money, none of us would have ever been elected. And so you have your mechanisms that don't cost money, and with a whole lot less money and a lot more people thinking together and working together, you can win elections. But
hold on, wait a second. Hold on, wait a second. We're here. He's coming here to talk to us. The story is not going to be Andrew Young. It's going to be us, the 99%. I appreciate you surrounding him, but we're here. He's here because we're here. And we are organizing. We are strategizing. We are mobilizing for a message to change this country. So I appreciate you talking with him. You love the brother, but we're here, and that's why he's here.
That's right. And I'll talk to you. You can come to my office if you want to talk about this issue.
Just a message to Hispanics that want to join the movement because they feel left out.
Well, then he might not be the one talking to. He's here because we're here. You're not understanding.
Nothing against you.
No. The message is we're here.
One more question. Just how do you think Mayor Reed has handled this situation? How would you have handled this?
No, it's not my call. So it's his call. And he has been working with them. In fact, they're here by permission by an executive order that he issued. Now, they have to work that out.
Well, we're here, but he didn't give executive orders for us to be here. We're here before he gave the executive order. So I appreciate Brother Young speaking.
The executive order was at 11 o'clock cutoff, and so he changed that.
Right.
So he's not against you.
After the fact, we were here for a few days.
Okay, all right.